Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this event. The Ajax Chess Club welcomes you all to this special chess event. We are immensely grateful to Harry Raghavan, who is the VP of our Ajax Chess Club, for generously sponsoring this event. Your support has made it possible for us to come together today and celebrate the spirit of chess and sportsmanship. Harry, I'm honored to be your good friend, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart. We would also like to extend a heartfelt thanks to the Ajax Public Library for graciously hosting this event. Your commitment to fostering a community of learning and engagement is truly commendable. This event will be recorded for various social media platforms. If you do not want to be recorded, then please don't participate in any of the chess demonstrations to follow. Ladies and gentlemen, today just so happens to be the International Women's Day. And what can be more fitting than to have a woman grandmaster as the keynote speaker of today's event? Anna is a chess journalist, editor, educator, and promoter. She received her master's degree in law in 2004 and a WGM title in chess in 2009. As of October 2023, there are only 326 women grandmasters worldwide. So Anna is in a very elite group. As a chess player, Anna has won numerous medals at the Youth Championship, including gold at the Russian Championship among girls under 16, an adult tournament. And in 2009, she earned her women's grandmaster title, I believe roughly at age 20, 21.
Yeah, 21.
Around there. In 2010, 2011, Anna worked as an editor and reporter for the Russian Chess Federation website. She also has held jobs with FIDE and has articles published in 64 Chess Review, New in Chess, Schach, and ChessBase. In 2013, Anna joined the team at Chess TV, which was later ChessCast, as an editor and producer of chess programs and live broadcasts, including several World Championship matches, candidates tournaments, and other high-end chess events. In 2018, upon moving to Canada, Anna joined the PR department of the International Chess Federation, the job she proudly held for 5 years. During this time, she has been the FIDE social media manager, website editor, and head of PR. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor and pleasure to present to you the women grandmaster, Anna Burtasova.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for coming today. It's a great pleasure to see all of you and to see so many happy faces. Today is Saturday. It's getting warmer, so soon we'll have spring, full-on spring. And today we have the International Women's Day, so we'll have different activities. I'll play a simul. We will have Q&A, but to begin with, I want to tell you a little bit about the pioneer of women's chess, the first women's world chess champion, Vera Menchik. Not many people know about her, not many people know much about her, but she had an amazing life, an amazing chess career, and I think it's especially fitting to talk about her today on the International Women's Day. Before that, just a couple of words about myself. So, David already presented me very well. I'm really honored and it's great to be here. But just a couple of more things about myself. So I was born in Soviet Union. I'm that old, yes. And it still existed for the 6 years of my life. Then when I was 6, it collapsed. And we found ourselves in a free but very chaotic Russia. At the time, we believed that Russia could be a true democracy, and unfortunately, this didn't happen. So in 2018, I made a decision to move to Canada. And honestly, throughout my whole chess career, I think this was my greatest move. Yeah, I'm very happy to be Canadian now for 6 years, and I really found a second, but now my first home here. And I just want to also extend big, heartful thanks to all Canadians for being such a great nation. Very, very, very hospitable and very kind-hearted. And the weather, of course, helps too. It reminds me of Russia so much. It's just absolutely the same. Yeah, and one more thing, which is quite personal, but it will explain why I will prefer to sit today as much as possible. I'm actually pregnant. I'm waiting for my second for my second son. The first one is almost 3 years old, so that's why I would prefer to sit as much as possible today. So please bear with me. It's not that I'm too lazy. It's just it gets tiring as long as you go in pregnancy. So yeah, well, now let's move to Vera Menchik. So Vera Menchik was the first women's world chess champion. Let's actually show her picture. So here is she, and she was born on the 16th of February 1906. So more than 100 years ago. More than 100 years ago. Can you imagine? I mean, that's has been a long time has passed, let's say. And at the time when she started playing chess, when she was playing chess, when she became the women's world champion, there were almost no women playing chess at all. Almost no girls interested in chess, because it was considered not a woman's thing to do, to play chess. So it was mostly, predominantly, pastime for men. So men were gathering in these chess clubs, smoking cigars, playing chess, and it was considered not a place for a young girl to be. And I'm so happy that it all changed. 100 years have passed, and now we see so many women, so many girls in the game, and this prejudice, they are just thrown out of the window these days. And I'm super happy women can do whatever they want, and can play whatever games they want and achieve whatever they want. Um, but I have a question to you. How many, like now, the number of women that play chess is an all-time high. Is an all-time high. And we have a very clear statistics on that. So International Chess Federation has a system of ratings and has a system of FIDE IDs. So whenever somebody gets a rating, this person gets into the FIDE base, and we can measure the number of women inside this FIDE base. So from all the FIDE rated players, just think about it in your head. How many do you think are women? Women, girls, female players. How many do you think are there? Is it 30%? Is it 20%? 10%? So think about this in your head, and I will give you the answer. So now the all-time high, 15%. Only 15%. So out of 100 players, there are only 15 women. And this is the biggest number we ever had. So of course, it's still not much, and we still want to have more visibility, because many girls, they drop out because they don't see other girls playing. But there are many girls who want to play. There are many girls who want to be part of the club. And by the way, you can also judge and see if your club is doing better or worse than the general statistics. Do you have more than 15% women or not?
I'd say we have at least 50%. Among
Yeah,
the
so
younger
more or less,
players,
yeah.
more so.
Yeah, so you,
In the best group at the Ajax Chess Club, and we all know who that group is, we probably have around 40 to 50% girls.
40 to 50%. That's amazing. That's amazing. So you'll have, it means you'll have a lot of champions growing out of these girls, and that's just great. So you are doing better than the general statistics. That's fantastic. You can keep going. I love this. So at the times of Vera Menchik, it was not 15%. It was maybe one girl, one woman. In her chess club, she was the only one actually. Um, and she was born in Russia. Surprisingly, she was born in Russia, but she is not Russian. She was born to a Czech father and an English mother, and both her parents were working for Russian noble families before the revolution. Um, so her father was managing their estates, her mother was teaching the children, But then Russian Revolution, 1917 stroke, and what happened was that they lived in a very nice six-room apartment. So can you imagine? You have very nice life, six-room apartment. Your parents are working great jobs, and suddenly everything completely changes. So they were forced to give rooms to workers, to peasants, that came into the city, and they suddenly found themselves in a one crumpled room, all of them together. She, her younger sister, and the parents, and of course, no jobs anymore. Like no, the Russian nobility was no more, so they couldn't work the same things. Um, so what happened is they decided to leave Russia after that. And actually, it also influenced the whole family situation. And her parents separated. Her father went back to Czech Republic, and she and her mother and her sister went to England because her mother was English, and they settled in Hastings. That's a sea resort city in England, and that was actually like some kind of uh, good luck thing in her life, because in Hastings at the time was the one of the best chess clubs in the world. It was very, very famous. They were holding Hastings chess tournaments, which they called Hastings congresses at the time, with the top players of the world. And she went to this chess club. She picked up chess while still in Russia, but she was just an amateur, just a small girl. And in Hastings, she joined the chess club. She was 17 at the time. And she was one of the few girls here. At sometimes she was even the only one. And she got a good trainer there. So Geza Marazzi, one of the top players of the time, he noticed her talent and he started training her, which is which was amazing for her because at the time, girls almost never got proper training in chess. So she was one of the first ones who could train with a strong player. And very soon, she established herself as the best female player in the country. And about this experience, she was saying that she didn't really speak the language. She moved to England, she spoke Russian. She didn't really speak the language, and chess was a perfect game for her. So she wrote later on that chess is a quiet game and therefore the best hobby for a person who cannot speak the language properly. So chess became her language. She was communicating with her moves and picking up the game and picking up the language at the same time in the chess club community. Well, when she was 21, so she was spending all her time in the chess club training. When she was 21, International Chess Federation decided to hold the first ever chess Olympiad in London. And alongside this chess Olympiad, it was the first women's world chess championship. It was a tournament. And since she was the best player in the country for women, so she played in the tournament and she actually absolutely crushed it and became the first women's world chess champion. She scored 10 and a half out of 11. So she absolutely crushed the opposition. And she went on to win 6 more women's world championships, which were in the form of the tournaments, and 1 match. And she was so much stronger than everybody else that she played all together in all these 7 championships. She played 99 games. So how many points do you think she scored out of 99 games? Okay, what is your guess? Oh, it's very close. It's very close. Who has other guesses? Yes? 93. Okay, very close too. It's actually in between. 91 and a half points out of 99. Can you imagine? She was just crushing. Some of these championships, she was just sweeping 11 out of 11, 9 out of 9. So she was so much ahead of all the women that were playing at the time. It was just incredible. And she went on to be the women's world champion for 17 years. For 17 years. This is the second longest reign among all the world champions. Only Manuel Lasker, the second world champion, had a longer run. Yeah, and she could have even longer run if not for her tragic death in 1944 during the Second World War. She was living in London. She moved from Hastings to London at the time, and unfortunately, it was already the later days of the war. So she survived all the previous bombings and attacks and everything. But in 1944, there was an air raid, and for some reason, her mother, her sister, and her, they decided to hide in the basement of their house. There was a bomb shelter across the street. We wouldn't know why they didn't run there. Maybe they thought they didn't have time. But they decided to take shelter in the basement of the house, and there was a direct hit on their house, which just completely destroyed the house, destroyed the basement. They were gone immediately, instantly. She was only 38 years old. And along with her mother and her sister, who all perished, also all her cups, trophies, a lot of her writings, whatever was connected with chess in her house, it was all gone too, unfortunately. Because she was a great journalist too. She was working for the British Chess magazine. She was working for a second British magazine, which was called Chess, and still exists. And it is all gone, unfortunately. Yeah, so her death was very tragic. She would go on to really be a world champion for longer, if not for this. But while she was the world champion, at some point, okay, with such a performance, 91 and a half out of 99 games, obviously she realized she just crushes all the women, and she started to play with men, with top players of the time. And the first really like a super tournament, with all the top players gathered together was 1929 Carlsbad event. 22 players, and among them one woman, Vera Menchik. Remember, 100 years ago. Now we say, okay, there are these great women chess players who are playing against top men, and we remember always Judith Polgar. We always remember Ho Yifan, who won mixed tournaments, and beat a lot of grandmasters. And we always somehow forget about Vera Menchik, who did the same, but way ahead of her time. Way ahead of her time. Like 100 years ago, unbelievable. So 1929, Carlsbad event. It was the strongest tournament since the First World War, and Capablanca was playing there, Rubinstein, Oeve, Nemtsovich, Bogolyubov, Tartakover, Marshall, the best American player, so amazing lineup. And she was also there. And of course, everybody was very skeptical. Like, people were not just skeptical, but also harsh. A lot of big mouths in the chess world, and some of them were really harsh. For example, okay, let me just read it out. So Salo Flor, such a Soviet journalist, he was writing in an article about that. So he was there, and this is what he wrote. There are always plenty of big mouths among the chess players. There were many of them at Carlsbad as well. Austrians are fond of jokes and humor. So the witty Hans Kmoch declared before the tournament started, if Menchik scores more than 3 points, then I'm entering women ballet. And actually, she scored exactly 3 points. And Hans Kmoch, who was a famous journalist at the time, he, so to say, ate his words. He was very ashamed of himself afterwards, and he apologized to her profoundly, that for these words. Of course, he didn't enter women ballet, but Vera Menchik entered the world of men's chess, And there was another guy, which was even more incredible. So one of the players there was Albert Becker. Nobody knows who it was, yeah? Of course, we don't know his name, but we remember the name of Vera Menchik, yeah? So this guy, Albert Becker, he was making fun of her. He says, okay, I don't think she will win any games, first of all, and I have a great idea. So let's do it this way. Whoever loses to Vera Menchik, let's have a club called Vera Menchik Club. If you're losing to Vera Menchik, you will be the member of the club. If you're making a draw, you will be a candidate member of the club. So he wanted to make fun of her this way. So guess what? Who do you think lost to her first? Albert Becker himself lost to her first. And you can imagine the laughter of the evening, writes Salaflor. Someone said, "Congratulations, Professor Becker. You are hereby elected as the president of Vera Menchik Club." Yeah, so she scored just 3 points in that tournament, but that was already a success because it was incredibly strong tournament. And during her chess career, she actually went on to beat GM's grandmasters. At the time, there was no title of grandmaster, so they all became grandmasters later. I think if there was a title, she would also be the grandmaster, but there was no such title. It was introduced in 1950, so like some 25 years later, 21 years later, yeah. So she beat Max Oeve, future world champion, Jacques Mises, grandmaster, Samuel Reshevsky, future American champion, Friedrich Zemisch. So all these grandmasters, future grandmasters, were the members of the Menchik Club. And the candidate members, so the ones she drew with, were Salaflor, Grunfeld. Maybe some of you play Grunfeld defense, you know. Lilienthal, Marozzi, her coach, she drew with him. Najdorf, again, maybe you play an opening named after him. Rubinstein, Tartakover, and Widmer. So all of these guys, they went on to become grandmasters. So yeah, way ahead of her time. And she was a very good strategic player. But not only that, she could also find some tactical complications too. And I want to show some of her games, basically some examples that will hopefully inspire you, you know, to play like her. So here's the position she's playing white against Sonia Graf. Sonia Graf was one of her biggest rivals in the Women's World Championships. So they played a match against each other, and this was in 1937. So this is game 14 of the match. And you can see that, okay, she's playing white, and she has some nice space advantage. You know, her bishops are very nicely looking at the king side, you know, her rooks can come closer and so on. And she could play something quite, you know, calm. She could just go with her rook to d1, and after black will develop the bishop, white will go knight in the center, and white will enjoy some nice advantage this way. But instead, she decided, why not to go for an attack right away? So she plays knight to g5. And this is interesting, you know, even though she was such a pioneer, such a trailblazer for women's chess, you know, and for women in the game, she was still intimidated by male players. She was still intimidated when she was playing against men, because this is how she played against women. You see, against Sonia Graf, knight g5, going for an attack right away, very aggressive, you know. When she was playing against men, she was usually much more calm, you know, even not so aggressive, even too much intimidated. And there are opinions of modern grandmasters, you know, that I was speaking with and just discussing these things, that if she played as aggressive as she played against women, she played as aggressive against men, then she would have even better results against men. So she was a bit too hesitant, you know, because probably she thought, okay, I'm playing against the top players. in the world that's very intimidating. And this happens a lot with all of us, with when you face a strong player, you kind of not feel as yourself. You start to play a little bit more cautious, maybe not so aggressive as you usually do. So don't do this. Don't make this myth of top players or stronger players being unbeatable. Everybody is beatable. Just be yourself, play your usual style, and try not to be intimidated. This is also an advice before the C move. So when you play in the C move with me, just play the way you usually play. Don't be afraid. So knight g5, and of course, this black starts to get a little scared. This might be hanging. I maybe take this knight. Then I will take this pawn on h7. So she decided to defend right away with g6. Looks very logical, so that this h7 square is defended much better, and the bishop is limited by this g6 pawn. So very logical move. And from here, white starts a very nice sequence of moves. Queen goes to f3. So I'm attacking the rook here, and I'm getting and also this knight here. So I'm getting closer to the king at the same time. Very nice move. Has two purposes at the same time. Bishop goes to b7, and then she plays queen to h3. And what she threats is she want to take this knight on f6, right? And if you take back, if this knight is gone, then I can mate you on h7 with my queen, like this. So that is why black plays h5, to stop this from coming. So far, black plays very logically, right? White is also attacking very nicely. And here she brings another rook into the game. Always, when you feel you're a little bit stuck, you cannot break through right away, think about bringing more pieces into the game. So now, now she brings somehow, okay, sorry, I was just pressing the wrong button. So she brings another rook into the game. And you will see soon that this will prove to be a very good idea. In a couple of moves, this rook will, actually in one move, this rook will just destroy black. So here, black actually had a move like this. So black should have taken on c4 this pawn. And then black gets under very severe attack, but maybe can survive. Something like this. Queen goes away. And then white can sacrifice the knight this way. And then if you take, then you're completely lost. Oops, sorry. And then you're completely lost because I'm just taking. And then I will simply use this pin and take the bishop, and the pin is still there, and the attack is still going on. And at the same time, black doesn't have any extra material. So black is completely losing here. But here, after knight takes c6, black surprisingly had this move bishop c8 to create this pin. Rook goes here, and black takes. I mean, these lines are all very complicated. White has a great attack, but white sacrificed the knight. So, it's still an open game for both sides. The lines are completely crazy. So obviously black didn't want to go for it. It looks really scary. It looks really scary for black. And white is still better here. So because of this, black didn't take on c4, decided it is too much. And I agree, during the game, it's very difficult to find all these complications, to find all these right moves. And if you do one wrong move, you're losing right away. So instead, she played this move, knight g4, which seems like a very nice counterattacking move. Because now, whenever your your queen is somehow distracted, then I can mate you on h2. This attack on h2 looks quite annoying for white. It's quite annoying, but the thing is that in this position, for example, let's say what I want to do here as white is I want to use these bishops. Look how great they are. If only not for this pawn, if only not this pawn was here, I would just play bishop h7 and it will be mate. Because the king, you can see, it cannot go anywhere. It is completely busted. And the only thing which keeps it kind of defended is this g6 pawn. So as white, I would be super happy to sacrifice my queen like this. Look at this. I want to mate you. And if you take my queen, then I play this and it's checkmate. Yeah, please, what do you want to say? Exactly. And this is the problem. Yes, exactly. That's the problem. The problem is that because of this knight g4 move, which black just made, if I take here, so instead of taking my queen, black would take on h2. And this would be fine for black, because I have to exchange the queens now. And then you take here, and I take your knight, and that's an end game, and everything is equal, the material is equal. White is still a little bit better because the rook will be going to the 7th rank. Not here, of course, but to the 7th rank. And white is slightly better. But what is slightly better? She wanted to mate black. So absolutely right. This was the trick. This was what black was hoping for. Knight g4 and then, but Vera Menchik had her own trick up the sleeve. And the move that you will see now is one of the greatest moves in the history of chess. It's in all the tactical books, it's in all the manuals of the greatest games and everything. So try to find it. Okay, I know you can probably see it on the screen, but if you're honest with yourself, don't look at the notation and try to find it. It's really difficult. So the problem is we want to play, once again, just to remind you, we want to take this pawn, sacrifice the queen, but the problem is that h2 is hanging. So we need somehow to distract this queen. If this queen was somewhere else, let's say it is here, let's say it is here, somewhere else here, then it cannot take on h2 anymore. So what she did, she played this move. Rook d7, amazing move. It's like boom. I'm sure black didn't see it coming, because it's just the full rook. And now, if you take the rook, now this thing works. h2 is not hanging anymore, so I want to mate you here. And after you take, white just gives this wonderful, brilliant mate, And if you don't take the rook, then what can you do? I mean, if you just play, let's say here, I can just take your bishop, and then I have an extra bishop. And so that is why after this move, black simply resigned, because nothing else to do, So this is an amazing example of how sharp she was tactically. So not only you have to find that you cannot play queen h5 right away because of this h2, but also, yeah, somehow I flipped the board. Yeah, but also you have to find this rook d7. But as I said, most of the time when she played against men, she was not so sharp, like she was not playing this aggressively. And I think this was a problem. So whenever you play against top players, don't hesitate to play aggressively. Try to beat everyone, just be yourself. Don't make this myth of unbeatable strong players. Everybody is beatable. I am beatable, when I play against you. And guys like Max Oive, who went on to become the world champion, he was also beatable. So let's look at this. This is an example of her playing an endgame. So I just showed you, an example of great attack from Vera Menchik. And this is an example of her playing an endgame. She's playing against Max Euwe. Max Euwe is white. And it looks like actually Max Euwe, he went on to become the world champion. He beat Alexander Alekhin, or Alekhine, as usually in Russian, like my mother tongue is Russian. We pronounce his surname Alekhin. It's a bit, yeah, it's a bit difficult. So Alekhine, okay. So Max Euwe beat Alekhine, became the world champion. But before that, Vera Menchik beat Max Euwe. And here, Euwe is white, and it looks like he's doing great, right? Look at this pass pawn. Look at this king attacking, attacking the pawn. Maybe comes here, takes this pawn, Maybe this goes forward. Looks actually, just from intuition, it looks like white is doing great. But that's wrong. That's a wrong perception. Because black's trump card is this small pawn. This small pawn is a bit further away from the king, and it can just run forward. And it will be not easy to stop it at all. So instead of defending her pawns or trying to somehow save them, or anything like that, she starts to play b5 and just pushing her own pawn, so using her own strength instead of trying to defend her weaknesses. And already here, Euwe made a move that cost him the game. So he played king g7, which seems very logical. Okay, I just want to take this pawn, I want to then maybe take this pawn, push this pawn, and in the worst case, I will give my bishop for this pawn, and then it will be a draw. That's what he thought, I guess. But it doesn't work. So the only way for white to make a draw here was actually to push e4 pawn and create his own passed pawn as quickly as possible, to create counterplay as quickly as possible. That was the only chance. Let's say black takes, then e5, king goes forward, then you create your own passed pawn. Black is pushing his pawn, she's pushing her pawn, and the other way around, yeah. And then each bishop will give itself for the pawn, and it will be a draw. So something like this. Bishop has to go here, and again, it's not so easy because, for example, here, if you take with the king, you're losing again, because king returns here, takes this pawn, and then returns back, comes here. The bishop will push the other bishop away. Okay, let me just show you how it can go. Let's say if you take here, I play king d6. Let's say you go back, I take. I'll come closer to the. You cannot come here because of the check. So I will simply come closer with my king, and then I'll push here. Let's say you try to stop my pawn. I come even closer. You just stay. I come closer. You play here. I play this, and then what I will do is that I will just play this, stopping the bishop, and then I'll push the pawn, and it will be lost. Objectively, it's lost. Yeah, please. Yeah, but it's going to be the same thing. I'm just playing. I'm just look. Okay, I'll show you. Just wait a second. So I will show you. It's going to be very similar. Let's say before I play bishop c2, you play bishop b1, right? And I will just play this. You have to play here, and then I can play queen b4, and you attack my bishop, but I attack yours. Once you take mine, I'll take yours, and yeah. So with very precise play, it is still winning. So yeah. So just to show how tricky it is for white, and But after bishop d1, this would be a draw, because you just give your bishop, take this pawn, and then black will be forced to give the bishop away too for the pawn, and it will be a draw. Yeah, but it's very difficult to find. I mean, the only way to make a draw was to push this pawn. Instead, white played king g7, which seems very logical. Okay, yes, I'm going for these pawns. Why not? But this is already losing, and she executed the rest of the game perfectly. Like, she converted her advantage perfectly, not giving any chance for white. It still looks like how white is losing, right? I mean, okay, I'm gonna give my bishop for this b pawn, and then I'm taking this ones. Okay, we will see. So white takes here, bishop plays here, so that I'm pushing, I want to control both these squares with my bishop. That's why. King goes back, b3, bishop d5, b2, bishop a2. And the problem is, black just takes the pawn, and black king is now going to take all the other pawns here. And the problem is that white can never ever take this pawn. This is the problem. This is what Max Hoyve didn't realize because of this check. And now we'll have to take, and I will promote the queen. And this is winning for black. Queen against a bishop and two pawns. No way white can save this. On that level. Okay, on that level, no way white can save this. So somehow this is what he missed. And because he thought, okay, b3, this looks like white is just taking this pawn on f7, and it's all fine. The worst what can happen is a draw. No, not that easy. Black just took here. White played f6, and then the thing is that black king can now, it is so free, it's roaming on this field, of the chessboard, like some very happy Saint Bernard dog, and can come and take this pawn, maybe come closer and help promote the b pawn. So finally, white resigned to taking on f7, and after bishop d5, black promoted the queen and won this easily, just by taking on d5. So yeah, so this is how Vera Menchik won against Max Hoyve, and this is a great example of her strategic genius and the endgame genius. So not only she could play attacking aggressive chess, she was also very good in positional chess. So these two examples can show you how she was at the board. And I hope it was interesting for you to listen about her life a little bit, because it was really an extraordinary life, not a usual life. She had a lot of things going on there, yeah, so that's what I wanted to tell about Vera Menchik today. Yes, of course. Is this something that you should always strive for? Well, let's say there is one thing in chess, it is always better to err on the side of overconfidence than underconfidence. If you're overconfident and you neglect your weaknesses, let's say, and only go for your strength, this will in the long run give you more points. And this is, yeah, that's an interesting insight, and this is confirmed by many players. Magnus Carlsen himself, for example, he was saying many times that he is very optimistic in his games. Like, he's very confident all the time. He's overconfident. He's like, he's like over-evaluating his positions very often. He thinks they're better than they are. The same goes for Vladimir Kramnik, for example, the world champion. He's always winning. Maybe he's losing, but he thinks he's winning, So it's better to err on the side of overconfidence. That's why I would say this approach will bring you more points, like to to focus on your strong points of your position rather than the weaknesses. But of course, it's a bit simplifying things. I mean, in reality, of course, you also need to think about the threats of your opponent. You know, not to miss. If you blunder in one move, then okay, what's the point of all the strengths of your position if you just neglect your opponent's threats to such an extent that you are blundering a fork in one move or something like that. So of course, it's all should be a balance. But as I said, it's better to be super confident. You know.
So for beginners and intermediates, would it be correct to say it's better to be aggressive and attack rather than afraid and try to defend?
Absolutely, absolutely. Also, I think every one of us can feel that we don't like to defend. It's unpleasant to defend, and it feels so much nicer to attack, right? So yeah, so try to attack always as much as you can, and it not necessarily means sacrifice your pieces left and right. Like this was an end game, but she was still attacking in this end game. She was still active, you know. She was still pushing her own passed pawn rather than trying to defend everything, you know.